Welcome to Transformations, interviewing people changing our world. I'm your host, Diane J. Shaver, and as you've seen by now, every single person I've interviewed is so different one from the other. But what they have in common is when something touched them deeply, they stepped up and they did something about it. And they're showing us that we all have that power. So today I have the privilege of interviewing a young woman who's doing something. So you may remember that I interviewed Rich Trotta, who is the founder of Center for Citizenship and Social Responsibility, and his assistant, Michael Skorka. And today I'm going to interview a young woman who's part of that program, and her name is Emily McDaid, and she founded something called Common Ground, which is really a powerful program. But I'm going to let her tell you about it. So please welcome Emily McDaid. Welcome, Emily.
Hi, I'm so excited to be doing this today.
Oh, cool. Okay. So what did you notice in school? What touched you? What made you want to do something?
So, walking through the hallways, I always saw kids that I didn't know. I'm a very social person. I love talking to everybody. I love interacting, even if it's just a quick, like, hey, what's up? How are you doing? I always love meeting new people. And walking through the hallway and seeing these kids with disabilities and knowing that I couldn't greet them by their first names. I didn't really know much about them. I didn't know which disabilities they had. And it was just, I was so distant from them. So I would not be able to talk to them. Their teacher sometimes would be like, oh, this is this one or that one, but I was never able to interact with them. And I'm very close with the people in the main office of the high school. I've made some great relationships throughout the high school with different faculty members. And I talked to them about it. I was like, what can I do to make a change and to be able to include them more in the high school? Because even though they're in the high school, no one really sees them that much, like in their classes or throughout the day. We'll see them maybe once or twice in the hallway or in the cafeteria, but it's not really an interaction that you get to know a person. So I talked to Mr. Skorker, I talked to Mike McLaughlin and Lisa Bowler, and I said, do you think I could create a class that at some point in the day I am able to go and talk to them and make relationships, and other kids are welcome to do it, and that way it starts something bigger and we gain these relationships. And it took a lot to get there, but I definitely have gotten there, and we've gained some great relationships to the point where now I work for one of the girls' dads. I've been invited to birthday parties. We've hung out outside of school. We've done different activities, and we've really now made these relationships.
Why did that touch you? I mean, it's kind of an interesting thing because it's not your usual way of living your life. Why did that touch you so much?
It made me realize that there are kids, like, it always starts with hello. You have to branch out a little bit to make a difference. And it was just, I felt those kids should be more included. They're just like me. Throughout high school, I'm a senior now this year, I've made some great relationships, and it was important to me that other kids have that opportunity to make those relationships. Maybe they haven't made as many as I have, but I feel like everyone should have a connection with someone that means something.
Cool. And what is the reverse inclusion course? I heard that's how you described what you're doing. What is that?
So in the classroom, specific days during the week, I go into the transition program classrooms, and we do different team building. So it's us working together and doing team bonding and like understanding the uniquenesses of each individual and putting it all together so that we all understand like who we are as individuals and can gain those relationships based off of that.
Why is that important? Why is it important to see people as individuals and not as a class or a group?
So every individual is different in their own way. Some people have learning disabilities, some people have physical disabilities, some people, their disabilities aren't noticed, but everyone is different in their own way. And I think it's important to understand that and be able to like take that and build off of it and build a relationship with someone that's like you can understand their differences, but also share the same similarities, because as different as most people are, there's always something that you'll find in common. So I think it's important to be able to recognize that, but also recognize how similar you all are depending on your disability.
So you're recognizing our humanity, our common ground, no pun
Definitely.
intended.
So I think it's important.
Yeah. And
Just
that's
to,
why you called it common ground?
I did. I
Cool.
thought it was important to have a name that is powerful, but also shows that like everybody is welcome here. There's no one that's going to be excluded from that.
So I'm wondering how you think this is going to impact the school, because it's bigger than just a group, I think.
I think it's had a huge impact so far. I think there's many kids that are now questioning like, oh, when they're doing these activities, like I want to join, I want to build these relationships. I know we just had the Medford transcript come a couple of weeks ago, and we did our amazing race, and we did different activities throughout the school, and it was like one team won, and that was important. That was probably one of the best activities that we've done, just to show that like we all put our different skills and talents together to create one group. I thought that it's important to show other people that like everyone's different. And I think it's now spreading more throughout the school and more throughout Medford, knowing that there are people that have differences and disabilities, but they're just like you. And I think it's important to recognize that and make it a priority for others to see.
Cool. And the thing that struck me as you're talking, I mean, in some ways, we all have disabilities. We just can hide them better.
Exactly.
And if somebody has a physical disability, it's not as easy to hide. So it's like, it's just shared humanity.
I think through my program, you will see that like you're able to recognize these disabilities, and people who don't have physical disabilities, like look more deeper into themselves to realize no one's perfect and everyone has disabilities in their own way. It's just how you portray them.
I think that's a really important point. And one of the things, it strikes me as in young people a lot, and as we get older, we just do it differently. But I think when you're really young, that you try to be perfect and you try to fit in and you try to do all these things. Do you see that as part of what's going on with kids?
I definitely agree with that. And I think social media has become a bigger problem with trying to portray yourself as someone that's so perfect, because nobody is perfect. And I think in high school is the best age group to really center off as like showing who you are as a person. And I think it's important that we started this year rather than later. Like if I started in college, I hope to continue something like this in college, but I really am happy that I started it in high school, because I hope it triggers down and younger kids become more aware of it. I think having the relationships and like being able to pick out the disabilities and the disabilities between every individual, it helps people realize that they're not perfect, but is who they are is good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're seeing this in the larger context of our culture. I mean, we're a culture that has a lot of picking on groups and that sort of thing. So I think what you're doing is right in the place where it needs to be, and hopefully this will spread out. So how has this changed you? What did it change in you as you did this?
This is something I'm so proud of, because it's made me gain other friends that I wouldn't have become friends with if I didn't create this. And it's something that, yeah, I created it, woohoo, but I'm more proud of the fact that I've created these relationships and I've had other people join into this group that they can create these relationships too. And I'm hoping that this influences others, and then to the point where now everyone's included and everyone feels welcome. I want these kids with the disabilities to be included in sports teams and extracurricular activities, and to be able to come to different sporting events or come to different events throughout the school, that they feel included and they feel welcome and they can participate in.
And you set up some team building things. What were they specifically, and why did you choose those things?
So one of the team building things we did was, well, they go on community every Thursday, but it's harder for me to get out of my classes rather than them to get out of theirs. But I've tried to get out of it a couple of times. And we do different things, like we'll create posters. There's actually a diversity club fair going on upstairs right now that they're all at, and we're doing different activities like that just to celebrate the uniquenesses of each individual.
Love that. So how do you see this going forward in your life? I mean, this is not a one-off thing.
So I hope that next year this becomes a class every day, particularly as many periods as we can, to get different individuals involved. And Medford High School is a big school. I think having it multiple times a day and having that change in everybody going into these classrooms, and I think it changes you as a person, and I think everyone should have that opportunity to feel, it makes you feel good about yourself knowing that everybody has differences, but everybody is special in their own way. So I think that's important for everyone to understand, and it's a great way to gain relationships. So I hope next year, even though I'm not here, it does become a permanent class, and I hope I can personally bring it through college and have different activities happen and make it more awareness of it.
Did you ever think about making it a foundation or a movement, or once you get out of high school? I mean, that's right now that you've got enough on your plate, but once you start going into college, which I found much easier, by the way, so it will be much easier in high school.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, oh, it is. I'm going to tell you, and graduate school is even easier, so it's good. But how do you see this as maybe going forward for you?
So next year I do plan on going to nursing school. That's something, I love taking care of people. I love helping people. So I know I'll have my hands full with that, but that's not going to stop me. I want to make this more of a Medford thing and expand upon that. I think Medford has great resources to expand it and to become even the younger kids so that they become more aware of it. And even throughout, I'm going to college next year, throughout colleges, and expand it so that everyone has an opportunity to gain these relationships, and we can do bigger social events, everything will be bigger.
Love that. So you're going to make this, or you're going to work with people to make this part of the curriculum?
I'm definitely trying. I've tried a lot. I'm going to continue trying until it becomes a part of the curriculum next year.
I love that. And you know that's all it takes. If you make up your mind and you go about moving forward with it, you will find people who will support you. I mean, that's just how it goes.
Yes. So my article was posted on Facebook, and a lot of Medford residents have responded to it, willing to help me. I have a ton of faculty. I have other students that are interested in, they want to become a part of this. It just right now doesn't fit into their block. So that just goes to show that they need to expand this so that other students have those opportunities.
So have you done kind of making a model for what you want this to be, so that as you move forward into college, that this can really become a movement? There's no question about it.
I've done stuff with it. I actually created a video too that I can send you later on.
Yeah.
We were doing different activities, and I was helping teach them life skills that everyone needs to know. And some of the students with these disabilities struggled, but it was I had the advantage of being able to do these skills better than them, so I could help them, but then they had skills that I wasn't good at. So it was we balanced each other out. So I created a video about that, and that was something that I really enjoyed, because it was each person had their different talent, and it really pinpointed their talents.
Cool. So I want to ask you a question about that. This is kind of the center of everything for me that I do, and that is that we each have personal power. and we can choose to use it or not, but it's there. So do you feel that you have the power to create what you want?
I feel like I definitely can create something bigger than this. I was nervous at first, I'll 100% admit. When we first started this, I was like, oh, like, I don't think I'll be able to do it. But now I've pushed myself to the point where I know I can succeed from this, and I know I can make this something bigger. And I have the right foot in the door, knowing that next year, even if I'm not here, I will have people pushing and pushing for me. And I'll come, if I need to come to meetings or come home from school to do an activity, I'll be here.
I love that. So do you think that as humans, we need to have a larger purpose? Like it's great to go have fun. I think we all need to do that. It's important. But do you feel like we need to have a larger purpose, something bigger than just us?
I definitely think that having relationships and having a mission and a determination to create something bigger than yourself is very important. I think it helps individuals grow and they develop their own reason as to like something that they're going to accomplish. And it just, you can take a step back once you succeeded, or like once you have the right steps going forward, and realizing like, this is what I'm motivated to do. This is how I'm going to do it. And you just really feel good about yourself. And I feel like every individual should have that reason as to why they feel so good.
So have you learned that what we classify as disability may be in a particular way, but people who have a quotes disability may not be disabled in lots of other ways?
I 100% agree with that. I think many individuals that have these disabilities, they have many advantages too. They don't just have like disabilities that individuals like, how do I put this? Everybody has their disabilities, rather they're said, signed, whatever. Everybody has disabilities, but it's the way that you use those disabilities to better yourself. I think everyone needs to better themselves as a person. Nobody's perfect, and you use those advantages, talents, disabilities, skills to your advantage to better you as an individual.
I love that. I think that's so important. So as a young person and you look out around you and look at what's going on in our world, what do you think about all these adults?
I think the adults, if anything, should be making the biggest impact, and I don't think that all are. Some just say, oh, it's not my problem, like I've already gone through high school, but because people think, oh, they're so perfect, but nobody's perfect. No adult's perfect, no younger person's perfect, and I think that the adults should be setting an example, and if they're not going to, then the younger students have to set an example for the older people, and older people may not follow this example, but it sure goes to show that kids can also make a change.
So do you think that the young can teach the older guys?
I definitely think they can. I know some teachers that have become more aware of what I'm doing and have become more involved. And I think that's important to like spread awareness and to show that like the more that can get involved, the better.
So I'm thinking of Greta Thunberg, and I interviewed somebody named Jamie Margolin, who started the youth climate change strike. I don't know if you remember that
Yes.
a year or so ago. Anyway, and she's now 17. She started when she was 16. And what she said is, I can't do all this. We need the adults. So how can we pull in the older people to work with the younger people? What can we do to bring us together? What do you think?
I think the best way to do it is to perform these different activities and different tasks to show, of course, we need the adults, we need their support, because if we have their support, we can expand this to something bigger and better. But I think having the push as kids to show that like we can be better than adults, like we have those rights to just brag about it a little bit, it goes a long way.
Yeah. Well, you guys are the future. I mean, we're all part of what's going on now. So in a way, we were the past, but you guys are the future, and all of you stepping up, you're going to make what happens next. So you guys are really, really, really important. And though you're younger, this presidential race, we have a whole bunch of kids who will be eligible to vote. They're going to make a difference.
It's funny. I actually just did, for my statistics class, we just did a survey. I created my own survey about the presidential election, and if every student had their own way of specific things that they wanted to pinpoint out what it would be. I think going off of what you said, one thing is, although the kids right now are the future, I feel like adults shouldn't just say, oh, we're the past. They should also think, this is what we are right now, and this is how we need to make a change right now.
No, I agree with you. I guess I was saying something slightly different, and I have a different frame of reference. Coming up, we were creating just like you are. Mm-hmm. And whatever is going on now is a result of a whole bunch of us creating this. And now it's time for something new. And I don't know that adults are abdicating. I interview people all over the world, and they're adults. I mean, I've interviewed, the youngest was 13, and then you, and then a young guy who was 23. But most of the people I interview are in their 50s or so, and they're all creating new movements. They're all creating new things. So I don't feel like we're abdicating. I think some have. But you guys are shaping what comes next, and the mindset and so forth. Every generation has an energy to it. Mm-hmm. And so you guys have an energy, and that's what you're going to be bringing forward. It doesn't mean it all rests on you. I don't mean it in any sort of way. I mean, I think it's important that all ages work together. Mm-hmm. I don't think it should be, I don't believe in any kind of segregation, whether it's age or race or disability or ability, whatever it is. I think we all need to be together. But definitely. Again, your generation is bringing in energy. So yeah. What would you call the energy? As you can see it, you're in the middle of it, so sometimes it's harder to see. What would you call the energy of your generation? What do you think it's about?
I think the energy of our generation is very powerful. I feel like there's individuals very young that are wanting to make a difference, even just throughout Medford, seeing CCSR and some of the younger kids that are involved in CCSR. CCSR right now has 500 members throughout Medford, but even looking into the elementary schools, we had the crosswalk, the 3D crosswalk created at an elementary school. We have these younger kids pushing to want to do big things, and these big things that they're creating are something that they want to do on their own. They need the drive, and they have the drive, and they need to just keep being motivated. And I think that's something that's very important, because when you have that push, you're going to be determined and be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. What else did you find in your statistics thing that you did? I'm curious.
So we're still in the process of working on it, but seeing the results of like kids, I feel, are now more involved in the election. And I just turned 18 last week. I'm very excited to be able to vote.
You can vote, yay!
I can, and to have a say. And I think that's important for kids to be more involved, but they also need to be prepared and have that background to use their right to vote as a positive thing, and to definitely take advantage of that.
So do you feel like kids are going to vote? Because that's what happened last time. They did not, and it had dire effect.
I think kids are definitely going to vote more now. I just feel like the only thing that makes some kids question is, do they have the right knowledge and the right background? I feel like in schools, everyone should be required to take a political class, no matter what background or whatever you want to see in politics. I think that's important, to be able to have the right skills to vote for the people that you believe will make a change.
Okay, that boggled my mind. I just have to say to you, I mean, you can do research, and not on social media, but you can do research about any candidate, about any issue. Some of it's pretty straightforward. Why would that be a thing?
I feel like kids use social media as their way of
Mm-mm.
resources and internet, and that's not what you need. You need to have these debates. You need to use your voice, use your opinions. And I feel like when you have that class and you're in class talking about different things and different subjects that matter, you get more of the hands-on involvement that really clicks with someone's brain.
Have any of the kids read the Constitution? Do they know what it is?
Most of the kids do. I'm not 100% sure on the whole school, but I think there's a very good amount that know the Constitution. Maybe not the whole thing, but the majority of it, I think, is pretty well known. So I think
Constitution is very short. It's very short, even with the amendments. It doesn't take long to read it.
yes, I think that's important that everybody knows the Constitution. Everybody has, even if they're not rights that involve them directly, but the majority of the rights that are important, all rights are important, but there's some that really need to just be enforced that everybody knows and understands the reasoning and details behind it that will impact their votes.
Cool. So let's get back to common ground. We got kind of off track, but I was really interested in hearing what you have to say because I feel that we all need to be involved politically. This is not a time to sit back. But anyway, so what are the next steps for common ground? What needs to happen next? What do you need to do? What does the organization need to do? What has to happen?
So now I'm taking the last 2 quarters because we just started third quarter. I'm taking third and fourth quarter, and I will be going into common ground pretty much every day, and we're going to be doing different activities. I'm going to be interviewing each individual, and I'm going to be interviewing other kids, even kids that don't know about it. I'm just going to take a random sample throughout the school, and I'm going to use that data to create a video, and I'm going to create a documentary kind of, and from that documentary I'm going to go to other schools and throughout Medford, and I plan to go a little further, and I want to make sure that other schools create their own programs so that individuals with these disabilities are recognized and become more included in the school.
I love that. So do you have a team that helps you?
I do. There's a couple of other girls that I'm working with. There's also a class that helps out during first period. Those kids, they go to the gym. They do all kinds of fun things. We really have gotten this program going, and I'm excited to see how many other kids join and what their inspirations are to continue this and to grow it throughout Medford and throughout Massachusetts and just keep building.
Cool. So it does take a team. So I'm wondering as you move forward, if there's part of your team that will move forward with you as you keep making this a movement, because it's important what you're doing.
Definitely. I've been talking to a lot of the juniors and a lot of the sophomores to make sure that they know what they are getting themselves into next year and what they have to do. I have big shoes for them to fill, and I want them to make sure that they're putting their best effort forth in this. And I think it's important to have individuals that are as passionate about it as I am. And for my friends that are going off to college that we've been working through this, even though we're at different colleges, I hope that we can still find time to come back here to check on everything, make sure it's all good, even go out to lunch with the kids, my friends that I've made throughout this class, and make sure that everything's going on the right path, and maybe even make it so it's not just about Medford High, but to expand it, and we'll be able to do it throughout our own colleges.
I love that. So who were the people who inspired you, who supported you? Because someone doesn't step up the way you have when they haven't had any support. So did your parents encourage you? Did teachers encourage you? Who encouraged you?
So a lot of my support, my family definitely supported me. My friends definitely supported me. some of the faculty at this school, I consider them family. I love the faculty at Medford High School. But there was one person that really inspired me. Or two people, actually. My grandmother, she actually recently passed away, but she was my biggest supporter. Her and my old neighbor, who was very good friends with her, they were my two biggest supporters. I actually just went over there this past weekend and I told her all about it. I told her that I was interviewing you, so I hope to share this with her once it's all completed. But those two people were people that inspired me. They pushed me. They gave me, when I had no hope and I was down about this and I was worried, oh, this isn't going to go as planned, they always gave me that push. They always motivated me. And those are two people that definitely inspired me to continue this.
That's so important. And we all need that. There isn't anybody that can do something without some kind of support. That's just the human thing. I mean, we're all in this together, if you will. So that's really cool. So going forward, you're going to be a nurse. What else do you see for yourself at this moment? Could change, but what do you see for yourself at this moment?
I'm definitely excited to continue this. I don't want this to stop, even if I'm going to college. And it's at my college, I want to make it something bigger than my college. I want to create maybe potentially a foundation. I definitely will need more support than just my family to create that, but I think I have the right mindset and the right push to make this something bigger.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because that was where I was going.
Yeah,
because,
no, I definitely plan to continue this.
Yeah, I mean, you can make it a not-for-profit and get funding and all the rest of it, and then it spreads. I mean, that's kind of everybody I interview here started out doing something on their own. People joined in, and now they're mass movements. Most of them are all over the world. So I'm glad to hear you say that. I'm glad that you know. And again, when we get bigger, we need more people, and that's just part of it.
But that's okay. The more people, the better, because it expands the horizons, makes you want to just keep going and keep pushing.
Cool. So if there are other students listening to this, what would you say to another student?
For other students at other schools, I say if you want to make a change, you give it your 110%. It's going to be challenging, but those challenges only make you stronger, and those challenges are something that's going to benefit you in the end, and it's going to benefit so many other kids, and you're going to make those relationships, and you're going to be proud of what you do. And I think that's important, to always find a reason to be proud of something, and to know that nobody's perfect. Everyone makes mistakes, but at the end of the day, you're doing the best. As long as you're doing the best you can, you're going to be an extremely important person.
Love that. So have you learned by now that some of the mistakes we make are the most important learning lessons that we've ever had? That if we didn't
so
make
my mom used to always
my
mom used to always say that to me when I was little, and I'd be like, oh yeah, whatever. But now, like, really becoming an adult and seeing these different things that I've gone throughout high school, I definitely would agree with that statement.
Yeah. The other thing I think that you have that earlier generations didn't have, you have a sense of your own power, and that's very important because it's there for everybody, but lots of people just got disconnected from it. And I see it in people even older than me, if you can believe that, where they just have never understood that they have power, and we all do.
I think that's very important. I see it a lot. Some of my friends, even, they're just like, oh yeah, whatever. But it's not whatever. You can go make a change. Even if it just starts something small, you can make a change, and you don't know how much of an impact that's going to make on somebody else. A small change in my life may make the biggest change in somebody else's. And I think that's important to know, that no matter who you are, you're going to make a change, and you don't know whose impact you're going to, or whose life you're going to impact.
Absolutely. So what's the difference in thinking between somebody like you who can do things and somebody says whatever? What do you think the thought process is that makes that difference?
I'm not lazy. I have the push, and I will do whatever I have to do when I want something, I will push myself and push myself until I get it done. And when I want it done a certain way, and I will make it sure that it is done that way and no other way.
I love that. That's really important stuff. And I think that's a lot of self-talk, what we say to ourselves. So when things are tough for you, what do you say to yourself to keep yourself going?
Sometimes you just have to take a step back and you're like, okay, you know what? Yeah, this happened, but you have to look at the positive side. Every negative thing, I try to think of 3 positive things. If something is going wrong, you don't sit there and think, oh, like, my life's so bad, this is so bad. You think, you know what, this happened. This could be happening to somebody else. How they handle it is going to be different how I'm going to handle it. My life could always be worse. It's not as bad as it seems.
That's really good. So what else do you want people to know about you or about Common Ground?
I think that Common Ground is something that every school, every community should have. I think it's a great way to make friends. I think it's important to be able to recognize the uniquenesses of individuals, and it makes everybody feel special and feel welcomed. And I think that is something that it's so important, to feel welcomed in your community. And I think it's a good way to bring positive energy throughout an area, no matter if it's just a small club or a group of people. I think that's very important, to be able to say nobody's perfect, but we're going to be as perfect as we can together.
I love that. So do you think anybody could do this?
I think as long as you have the motivation and the push to do something great, anybody could do it.
Love that. So what else do you want people to know about you?
Me, I don't like talking about myself. I think that it's not all, oh, Emily's done this, Emily's done that. It's more of, look what this has become and look how many people it's impacted. I like to think of what I've done as something great. It makes me happy. It makes me smile every time I talk about it, but it's not about me. It's about the relationships that I've created, and I really think that I've made a positive impact on other people, to the point where it makes me feel good. Even if it's not impacting me directly, it still makes me feel good knowing that other people are happy and I've contributed to their happiness.
So just from experience, I will tell you, years from now, people are going to walk up to you and say, you know, when you did that, it changed my life. And that will be like a phenomenal thing to have with you. And
I'm excited to hear the impact of that, to actually hear from other people, to know that all the hard work that I've put into this, it's paid off.
I mean, you've seen it already.
I definitely have. And just even going through the different Snapchat memories that come up, and seeing the impact that we've made and how much fun that we've had together, it really makes me feel good.
Love it. So you graduate when?
I graduate in June 4th.
Oh, wow. Okay. And you start school when?
So I haven't decided exactly where I'm going to school yet. So somewhere in August, the end of August. Haven't really pinpointed that.
So you have time to work some more on Common Ground.
I definitely do. I have 2 more quarters, and I plan to be here for most of the summer working on it to make sure that it's all concrete to be a class next year.
Emily, this is so wonderful. I love your energy. I love what you're doing. It's so important. And I know that it's going to have impact even after you're gone. And I'm looking forward to your foundation. So when you start your foundation, we'll have to do another interview.
Definitely. I definitely will reach out to make sure that you know everything about it, and I'll send you lots of pictures and everything else.
I love it. Thank you so much. Emily McDaid, Common Ground, Medford High. I think that's an extraordinary high school, by the way. So thank you. It is. And thank you so much for being with us. This has been wonderful. And hopefully you've inspired a lot of people who are listening. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. And it was a great opportunity being able to share something that I'm so passionate about.
Cool. I love that. And thank you to our audience for joining us today on Transformations, interviewing people changing our world. And as you've seen, once again, someone saw something that needed to be addressed. They stepped up, they did something about it, and age is no barrier. Whether you're young or old, it doesn't make any difference. You have the power to do that. And you can watch some more interviews with world changers at www.transformationspodcast.com. Our YouTube channel is listed there too. If you prefer YouTube, you can do that as well. So this is your host, Diane J. Shaver, saying see you next time. Bye-bye.